And now, a word from your professor.
Hello everyone, this is your professor reporting from his secret mountain lair. I just wanted to pop in because we are shifting gears for the semester in a way I've mentioned in writing, but I wanted to talk about that more. Because you have your first summative assignment coming up. Now, if you remember, I told you before that formative assignments is what we've been doing, which are these quizzes and exercises that are designed to get you to interact with the text in some way, to respond, to think. They're not really a measurement of what you're good at or what your skills are or what you've learned, or that kind of thing. They're called formative because they're forming you as a learner, forming your learning, rather. And then what we're coming up on is called summative assessments, because what you're doing with these assignments coming up, you're showing what you can do. So think of it as performative. So what I'm referring to specifically is your annotated bibliography, which is due very soon. Now never fear, before we get into this, I want you to understand something up front. All of the rules and requirements for this assignment are laid out clearly and plainly, which means that eliminates any guesswork. You don't need to guess what you should do for this assignment. It's all there. And also, you can see in Chapter 4 of the textbook, there is a chapter on grammar that is not just a list of rules for you to memorize, but is actually designed to help you understand how to use grammar and how to access those rules in a more helpful way to you. There's a rubric, and I'll be grading according to that rubric, objective things that you can count. Now, let's talk about some basics of the assignment, okay? Now, first of all, you should know the difference between an annotated bibliography and a references page, which confuses people sometimes. Now, a references page, sometimes called a works cited page, that's an MLA format. In our classes, we use APA format. So in APA format, which just means a style of doing it, a set of rules, this is called a reference page. And a reference page is attached to a document. So later, when you write your proposal, you will attach a references page to that tells the reader, here are the sources I used in this document. However, that's not what we're doing yet. What we're doing now is called a bibliography. But basically, it's things you read or nowadays watched, listened to, whatever, about your topic, about a topic. So in other words, you could have a bibliography on auto repair, and you could have lots of articles on there about how to fix carburetors and the ins and outs of the nuances of carburetors, and maybe the carburetor system, understanding it better. And you could compile all of these articles on carburetors in automobiles and have a bibliography on that. What I'm saying is a bibliography can be on any topic. It's just a bunch of sources on a topic so that somebody coming along can go, oh, here's a list of things on this thing I'm researching. It would be helpful for you to come across somebody else's bibliography. Maybe you have in your research. So that's what a bibliography is. Now, the annotated part, you'll see the word note buried in annotate. So it's just some notes on the sources. So an annotated bibliography is you compiling a list of sources, and for each of those sources, giving a note about it, okay? And that is the nature of the assignment. Now, where do these sources come from? Well, if you have done research, as you should have been doing, or if you're behind, go ahead and do it now. The research you're doing to understand, let's say you chose job displacement, the research you've been doing on job displacement. Or let's say you chose bias and discrimination, whatever research you've been doing on that. So whatever your chosen topic is, the idea is you are researching that right now, and you have been, and you're still doing it, researching that topic, and I guide you in the textbook chapters on how to do that kind of research, finding keywords, things like that. Go ahead and do those assignments if you haven't yet, because they help you understand how to do this kind of research. So all the stuff you come across in there, you can put all that in your annotated bibliography. In fact, you should. So if you've been doing research, this isn't about you finding 10 new sources. No. You can use sources I've given you in class, so that counts. You can use sources you found in your own research. So coming up with those 10 shouldn't be that difficult. If you're behind, I understand it's going to be a little more difficult, but that's just the nature of being behind, and I have no hate for you. if you're behind, but I should acknowledge it's a little more difficult coming up with these sources, but it might be a way to help catch you up on your research because now you got to come up with 10 sources. There is a real purpose to this besides the fact that it's a 101 requirement. What it is a chance for you to organize and become more familiar with your own research. You've done a lot of research, and if you're not used to doing this, maybe you haven't been that organized about it. It's okay. I'm not a very organized person myself, so I understand. I've had to learn to do things to make myself be organized. For instance, an annotated bibliography. I gather my research that I've been doing, helps me organize it, and it helps me interact with it more. The more I interact with it and have to understand it, when we get to the notes in a second, that makes me more familiar with my research. It's like a second pass at your research. But you're doing it also to fill in this blank for 101 and for formal writing. Here are some highlights of what's required for this this assignment, and you can actually title this section "Things People Commonly Neglect, Costing Them Significant Points on the Summative Assessment." The first one is the page must be in APA style, as I mentioned earlier, which has very specific, annoying requirements. Yes, they are annoying, but they are required. So here's the good news, don't memorize them. There's no need to memorize them. There are plenty of places where you can find the list of APA requirements. You can find them in as much detail as you want for any kind of source you're using. Pause to take a look at these if you need to. Now, also, AI can help you on this, but be aware that it's very inconsistent when it does documentation. It'll look right. You'll be like, it must be right. But sometimes it ain't. Isn't. I'm an English professor. Sometimes it isn't. You've got to check its work. And you might be like, well, if I'm checking its work, what's the point? Well, it's still going to save you a lot of time from doing it from scratch. Now, remember that in formal writing, formatting matters. Now, what I mean is how your document looks. I know that seems silly because you're like, my content is what's important. And I don't disagree with you. But the thing is, if you submit something in any formal setting without care or regard for the formatting that is asked for or required, or that is traditional for it, it sends a signal that you don't really care about the work. That may not be true, but the problem is it sets the reader against you from the start. So formatting matters in formal writing, even if we think it shouldn't. This is a class in formal writing. I'm trying to train you to be the most equipped you can be to go out into a world of formal writing in courts and at your job and things like that. And believe it or not, formatting does matter in those settings. If it doesn't, then you're just lucky. Now, the good news is, again, you never, ever, just like with APA, why memorize any of this stuff? Oh, why crowd your brain up with that? I'm sure you all have a billion more things that are more important to put in your brain. So don't be memorizing the formatting requirements of any particular type. Just look them up. All right, so here are some formatting requirements for this that a lot of people don't do. So first of all, your annotated bibliography should have a title that is centered. Your sources must be in ABC order, not numbered. Your sources should be in hanging indentations. These things. They're called hanging indentations. Notice it's kind of the opposite of a regular indentation. It's every other line but the first one is indented for each source. You want to double space the document evenly throughout. Okay, so an annotated bibliography requires you to annotate, to put some note. And different annotated bibliographies ask for different kinds of annotations. What I would like to see in this, and what is required in this, is that you not only summarize what the article is about or the source is about, but you also say, here is why I think this will be helpful for my project or not, and why. Just a little personal note from you. And this accomplishes a couple of things. Number one, it makes you think about your source in terms of your project. Where does this fit? Where will this fit in what I'm trying to say in my proposal? And it also helps me hopefully, know that you didn't just use AI to summarize your sources and just so you could go boom, boom, boom. Because really, I don't care what I don't care how AI summarizes your sources on this assignment. This is about you reading the source and summarizing it, showing you have an understanding of it. And then the personal note from you saying, here is why I, the writer in this class, think that this source will be useful for my topic, my project coming up, or whether it's a dead end. Maybe you found a source that you're like, I thought this was good, turned out to be a dud. That would count as a note. I just need to hear you as a student in this class writing these notes. I don't want to hear it sound like a grad student wrote it or a robot, doing it very formally. That's not what this is about. This is, formal writing in terms of grammar. Sure, you want to be grammatically correct in as much as possible, but I need to hear you as a person. I don't want to hear cold, detached, voiceless summaries. Okay? Let me know if you have any questions, concerns. If you're panicked about this assignment, contact me. I am not unsympathetic to that. I hear you. Let me know. I'll help if I can. Don't suffer in silence. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.